Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Russell here, and in today's video we're going to be revealing my cryptocurrency portfolio and the 3 coins that I plan on holding for the extreme long term. Now we're going to go over what these coins are, how much I have in each of them, as well as some of the risks for each of those individual coins, and where I hold these coins in order to get the best returns I possibly can. Now I'm not a guy who's gotten into cryptocurrency early and has made hundreds of thousands of dollars on my portfolio, and I'm not a YouTuber who makes thousands of dollars every single day that I can funnel into cryptocurrency, but by working to spend less and earn more and funnel all of that into different types of investments, I've been able to consistently add over time. Again, that's something that I like to teach in the Canada Money Mastery course, 45% off with coupon code INVEST. There's a link in the description if you're interested. We're going to start with my smallest cryptocurrency holding and work up to my largest cryptocurrency holding, the coin that I actually have the most faith in, and I'm going to tell you why. And for some people, these numbers are going to seem small, and for others, it's going to seem big. Now, I'm just a guy here on YouTube, and there are tons of people who are a lot smarter than me when it comes to cryptocurrency, so take this as you will with a grain of salt. This isn't financial advice, but I'm going to share my views and my thoughts on all of these different coins. So let's dive right in. My smallest cryptocurrency holding of the 3 tokens I hold is Cardano, otherwise known as ADA or ADA. Now this is a special cryptocurrency in my eyes because of the way that it's been rolled out. Now it's been very slow in its rollout, and that's largely because in order to determine the ways in which they're going to implement different changes to this cryptocurrency over time, well, they've actually been writing research papers, academic papers that have been published in order to sort of determine the direction the cryptocurrency is going into. Now, I think this is a pro for Cardano because it means that when it comes the time that governments and countries look more closely into regulating cryptocurrencies, they're likely going to want some solid resources to look into in order to know that they're making the right decisions. Now, because Cardano, all the way through its implementation and creation, has been backed up by scientific and academic research papers, well, this could be seen as a pro by potential older regulators who are more comfortable seeing that kind of information. Another reason I find Cardano interesting is because it runs on a proof of stake model instead of running on a proof of work model. Now, with blockchains that are running on a proof of work model, well, you need miners to verify the transactions that happen in each block on that individual blockchain. When you have proof of stake, you don't actually need the miners to do that verification, because every single person who's holding the currency is able to provide a little bit of that proof of stake in order to verify the transactions. Again, putting this in simple terms. What that means for me and you, the end users of Cardano, is that we can stake our Cardano and we would be the ones earning a little bit of interest, a little bit of extra currency just for having the token in general, instead of the miners doing that work and being rewarded for that work. Now, I always like to earn a little bit of interest on my money, so it's something that's certainly interesting to me. Now, another reason I'm long on Cardano is because I believe in the problems that it's trying to solve. As with any other cryptocurrency I've held, I've tried to do as much research as possible on it, and as a result, when I was researching ADA or Cardano, I of course watched many interviews with Charles Hoskinson. He's the founder of ADA, the creator of ADA, also was involved in the creation of Ethereum back in the day. But the interesting part about Charles Hoskinson's interviews that I've watched is his thoughts on how this could be so helpful for developing countries, allowing them to have access to credit and loans, which could largely help in these developing countries that need more industrial development. And Cardano is making it one of their main goals to make a cryptocurrency that is effective for doing that. So it could be very attractive to people in developing countries, allowing them to borrow in order to start businesses and create a better functioning economy in these third world countries. Now, of course, we need to talk about the cons too. And one of the biggest cons in my eyes for Cardano is that, well, it really hasn't produced a lot of the things it's saying that it's going to produce. And I believe that's largely due to the slow rollout, due to the academic research that's done before any changes are made to the network. Now, we really haven't seen programmers or developers really hop on board Cardano in a big way, and we haven't seen these use cases for Cardano really materialize, but that's something that I believe we will see in the future, and as a result, I don't have as much in this cryptocurrency, but I do have some because I do believe that it's very likely that they will be able to execute their visions for the currency. And there is a little bit of a barrier to entry when it comes to Cardano also, because it's not listed on every single cryptocurrency exchange, only offered on certain ones instead. Now, for me, the way I personally do it, not saying it's the absolute most efficient, but I buy on Newton, I buy Bitcoin, and I transfer that over to an ADA Lite Wallet, which I'm going to show you in a second, through a service called CoinSwitch. We can talk about that in the future, about exactly how I buy my Cardano, but I'll show you. This is the wallet I hold it in. It's called ADA Lite. Now, ADA Lite is nice because it does have the feature that you can use a hard wallet to access this this wallet on ADA Lite, right? So I use my Ledger Nano X. I don't know if you've seen this before. I've talked about it here in the past on the channel, but it's a cold storage wallet. So the keys and the passwords essentially that I need to get into my ADA Lite wallet, well, they're all held right here and they're held nowhere else. So I'm able to make sure that my cryptocurrency is as secure as possible with my Ledger Nano X. So that's one of the benefits of holding my cryptocurrency on ADA Lite. But now let me show you how much Cardano I'm currently holding inside of my ADA Lite wallet that I just signed into with my Ledger Nano X. Let's switch over here, and I have 602 Cardano, or ADA. That's 813 American, or roughly, as of right now, $1,000 Canadian. Now, this is the cryptocurrency of the three that I hold that I have the least conviction in, but as they start rolling out more features, I plan on putting a little bit more adding to this Cardano portfolio. But now let's get into my second largest holding, and it's one you're gonna be familiar with. It's Bitcoin. Of course, the most popular cryptocurrency, the one that everybody has at least heard of. And this actually speaks to one of the largest pros that I see with Bitcoin right now, and that is the overwhelming lead it has when it comes to the network effect. When I say network effect, I mean everybody knows the name Bitcoin, right? When you think about new people who are going to get into the cryptocurrency space over the next years, maybe they don't feel comfortable with it yet, they're just getting started, what cryptocurrency do you think they're going to go with? Most likely the one that they've heard the most about, the one that they mention on the news, right? This is Bitcoin by far. It has the largest name value, the largest brand, if you want to call it that. And for that reason, I believe that it will increase in value over time as some of these players that currently aren't in the cryptocurrency space slowly start to move in. Another pro I see with Bitcoin is scarcity, right? With Bitcoin, there's only going to be a set amount of Bitcoin that is ever created and added into Bitcoin's system, and that number cannot be changed. Now, when you contrast that with what's been going on in the rest of the world, well, let me show you this. This is a chart that shows you the global monetary growth. I'll move myself down here so you can see this chart, but just in the past year since the beginning of the pandemic, well, we've had a major increase to the amount of money supply in the overall world, lots of money printing in so many major countries, especially Canada, especially America. We've seen so much money added to the system. Now, of course, this is going to lead to some concerns of potential inflation. Whenever we add new currency into the system, does that devalue our dollar? Well, if you talk to different analysts, they're going to say different things, but I'm personally of the mindset that it certainly may have some effect, and as a result, that's one pro with Bitcoin. We can't have Jerome Powell or Tiff Macklem at the Bank of Canada cranking the money printer wheel, adding more to the system. We only have a set amount, and I think that does make it valuable. Another pro for Bitcoin is that it has a very, very low barrier of entry, right? Essentially, every single cryptocurrency exchange that exists, for the most part, has Bitcoin as an available cryptocurrency that its users can buy. Now, if you contrast this to some of the lesser known cryptocurrencies, well, it's a little more difficult to buy them, but I think for people who are just starting out, many people will just go to Bitcoin right away because it's easy to buy, they know about it, right? And they feel a little bit more comfortable with it because it's so widely supported. But of course, we have to talk about the cons, and one of the cons is sort of tied to the biggest pro in my eyes, right? The network effect, the popularity of it, right? Because of this, I think that Bitcoin is also the most likely to potentially get hit with some regulations when compared to these other cryptocurrencies that regulators may not entirely have on their radar, right? But Bitcoin, of course, everyone knows about it. If there's going to be any changes happening, well, I think Bitcoin is going to be the most heavily impacted just because all of the regulators, the people making the new laws, well, they're going to target Bitcoin first because of its popularity. Another con for Bitcoin is the fact that it's not really all that easy to use when it comes to doing transactions or as a medium of exchange, right? Because of the length of time it takes to verify each block in the blockchain for Bitcoin, it takes a long time to verify each transaction that you want to do. So if you end up at a store and you want to buy something with Bitcoin, well, you could end up waiting a lot longer than you'd like to have that transaction verified. Now, of course, many people will say that Bitcoin is not a currency and it should be used instead as a store of value, much like gold. You wouldn't use that to transact, and use the same thing with Bitcoin, you wouldn't. Also, with Bitcoin's transaction, there's been many people speaking of having a second layer to the Bitcoin blockchain that is a lot more quick, and you can do the transactions on that second layer and then settle them on the first layer, right? These are some of the potential solutions to this con, but it is something to note. Now, for me personally, when I'm buying my Bitcoin, and this may not be the most efficient way for everybody, but I buy it on Newton and then I transfer it over to BlockFi. Now, the reason I like using BlockFi to hold my Bitcoin is because BlockFi has interest-bearing accounts. So any cryptocurrency you hold in BlockFi, well, you're going to be paid interest on a monthly basis on the balance of your portfolio. But now for how much Bitcoin I'm holding, and let me show you my BlockFi wallet here. The amount of Bitcoin that I'm holding is $2,801 US. Now that works out to around 3,430 Canadian dollars. And if we add that in with the amount of cryptocurrency I currently have sitting in my Newton account, well, then that brings it up to around 3,650 Canadian dollars in Bitcoin. But by far my largest cryptocurrency holding is in Ethereum. And it's also the one that's done the best for me over time. But when we talk about this, I like to sort of put aside the short-term price fluctuations for any given cryptocurrency, because as I mentioned before, my strategy is to hold this for the long term, so I'm not really too concerned with the ups and the downs in the short term. I think it's far more important to know the problem that the cryptocurrency is trying to solve and have a solid thesis on why you think that it's going to be valuable over the long term, and if you can determine that for yourself to a degree that you feel comfortable with, then go ahead and buy it and hold it for as long as you'd like. Now, one of the pros I see with the Ethereum network is how impactful its implementation of smart contracts has been. Smart contracts will allow you to add time into the equation of any transaction. Now, this makes it a lot easier for programmers to come up with different use cases for Ethereum, as well as to open up the floodgates of potential lending in the cryptocurrency space. And also, based on my research, Ethereum is extremely programmable and it has a large amount of people developing for the network. Now, this means that there could be some future use cases for Ethereum that we don't even know about yet. Now, in my eyes, this is a potential upside for the future because of all the possibilities that could be created and run on this Ethereum network. And one of the most interesting potential use cases for Ethereum is the DeFi space, otherwise known as decentralized finance. Now, essentially, this means that Ethereum could be the network on which massive global institutions that are decentralized could be built on in the future, potentially providing an alternative for the current big banking system. I'd really recommend you look into decentralized finance because I think it's one of the most interesting aspects of cryptocurrency in general, and it also is what largely has me enthusiastic about cryptocurrency in general. But now we need to talk about some of the cons for Ethereum. And if you're somebody who's used Ethereum in the past, well, then you'll likely know that as of right now, the transaction fees are rather high for Ethereum. The gas prices are increased because, of course, there's a high volume of transactions happening on the Ethereum network right now, and that's increasing the amount of money it takes to actually push these transactions through. But these problems with high transaction fees could be solved relatively soon because as of recently, Ethereum 2.1 has been introduced, which allows them to switch from the proof of work concept that it originally was built on to the proof of stake concept. And this has many experts believing that these transaction fees could go down in the future, which could make Ethereum more accessible as an actual currency that we can use in the future. As for buying Ethereum, I like to use the same method that I use for Bitcoin. I buy it on Newton and I transfer it on over to BlockFi to make a little bit of interest on my holdings. But now let's get into exactly how much Ethereum I'm holding, and we'll switch over here and you can take a look. I'm holding 3.24 Ethereum, which works out to around 10,281 US dollars. And when you add in the 400 Canadian dollars I have sitting in my Newton account right now, waiting to be transferred over, and you convert it all to Canadian, this works out to about $13,000 Canadian in Ethereum. Now, initially, Ethereum didn't start as such a large portion of my portfolio, but because the growth of Ethereum over the time I've been holding it has outpaced Bitcoin and Cardano, well, it's kind of ballooned into a larger portion of my portfolio than I initially intended it to. But also with my increased research that I've done in the cryptocurrency, I'm actually believing in it more and more. So as of right now, I'm not redistributing this to get back to the sort of target percentages that I initially determined for my individual portfolio. So if you add up the $1,000 of Cardano, the $3,650 of Bitcoin, and the $13,000 of Ethereum, well, my total crypto portfolio is $17,650. And now to a lot of people, that's going to seem like a whole heck of a lot of money, and to others, it's going to seem like a small cryptocurrency portfolio, and that's okay. Everyone's at different places along their journey. Now, there are a lot of different cryptocurrencies out there, and a lot of different interesting projects that could be very solid and could have solid use cases for the future. But for me personally, these are the three that I have the most faith in. But if there's another project or another coin that you think I should look into, let me know down in the comments what you're enthusiastic about and why. I'm just hoping that this little bit of transparency and a little bit of a look into how I'm thinking about this can help you as you sort of start to craft your own thesis on what cryptocurrency you want to hold and why, because I think it's so important to know why you want to hold something. Don't just YOLO gamble putting money on certain coins hoping to make a profit. I really think it's important to go into it with a measured mindset and really take a look into it, much as you would with a stock, why you want to hold it for the long term. That's the way I like to invest. And much like the stock market investing strategy that I like to employ and the one that I teach in the Canada Money Mastery program, again, 45% off with the coupon code link in the description, well, I like to hold it for the long term. And as a result, even if my crypto portfolio dropped by 50% tomorrow, I really wouldn't care. I'm not looking at these short-term fluctuations. I have a thesis for why I want to hold the things that I do, and I hold it for the long term. I'm talking 10, 20 years. Because I've done enough research, I have the personal faith to put this money into cryptocurrency because I do believe that even if it fluctuates in the short term, it's going to do better over the long term in my eyes. And you need to do your own research to make sure you believe that too, based on that research that you do. And I encourage you to adopt the same mindset when it comes to investing, especially in the cryptocurrency space, when there's seemingly new projects every single week, new coins created, all promising incredible gains and going to the moon. Well, I think that there could be some solid projects in there. I really think it's important that you do your research, know what problem the cryptocurrency is trying to solve, and have a solid thesis on why you want to hold it, especially again in this space where there's so many kind of things that maybe aren't entirely on the up and up, are potential rugs that could be pulled out from under you, pump and dumps. You got to do your research, and I really encourage you to do so. And I'm also curious, what do you think about all of this? Do you think I've made some mistake in the choices that I've made? What are your personal ideas behind the cryptocurrencies that you might be holding? Do you have any questions? Let me know down in the description. I read every single comment, and I try to reply to as many as I possibly can. And with all of that said, thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to keep on supporting Canadian content like I make on my channel. And with that said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. This channel is supported by viewers like you. Thanks, channel members.